Hey guys, welcome to Apex Custom Rifles. What I got here is a Ruger SR22, little 22 pistol, and I'm going to show you how to assemble, disassemble mainly, and then you can disassemble, reassemble the same way I took it apart. So first thing, make sure it's clear, nothing in it. Take mag out, get rid of that. There's a lever on the bottom here. Flip that open, pull it all the way down. This goes all the way back, that pops forward like that, and this comes out. So then you got your spring and your guide rod, and we're going to set that aside for a minute. You're going to need a 9/32 wrench here to take the barrel off. Pull the trigger forward, and right inside there, as you can see, there is a 9/32 screw. So we're going to break that loose, and if you got a ball end Allen wrench here, it works really well. Get that out. Loosen that out. If you want to leave it in there, you can, but that takes the barrel off. And then, you know, realistically, if you want to get in here and clean this, this should be more than sufficient to clean it. But if you want to get in here a little further, there's a pin right here. And if you have a small enough roll pin punch, that'll get in there. This one is just, it's an 1/8 inch, but it's a tad too big. So I got to use an actual, oh, what is this? 3/32 punch, and I'm going to drive it this way. So get in there. Pull that out. There's the pin, and you want to be careful here when you pull this out. Not that, but so there's a dovetail there, and this thing slides right out. But this serial number thing, that will retain the front half of this thing. So the back half will slide out a little bit. But to get it out, we push with our thumb there. Put a flat something in there that'll wedge that up, and then that'll slide right out of there. So you got to be careful these parts. So this part, this is a little plunger that goes right in the bottom here. It goes right there, and then it also fits into the frame. See, there's a little hole right there, fits into there. So we'll show you that in a minute to put that back together. This guy, this little spring there, you got to be careful that doesn't fall out. So I'm holding this upside down, and the way this, you can go through and clean this thing the way it is. That's, you really don't need to take it apart further than this to clean it. But to get this back together, hold this upside down like that. There's two ends to this thing, a longer end and a shorter end. You can see the top there, it's slightly longer. I'm going to put that down into that front hole there, like that. And then this arm, hook it into the spring, and then push it down onto the rod right there, the little holder, and then push it down under this little detent right here, and then it'll be back in there. But it's easier to put it back in there once you start slide it back in the frame. So the rest of this, you can clean it as is like that, and that's really all the further you need to take it apart. If you want to take this apart to get this, there's another roll pin there. So we're going to drive that out, and that you can use your 1/8 inch roll pin punch. And be careful, it's aluminum, but it's pretty well in there, so that out. And then to get this guy back together, or sorry, to get this out, you got to be careful because there's a plunger in there we got to watch out for. Slide this forward a little bit, lift that up as we're sliding this forward. And that should slide right out of there. And it'll slide out the ejection port out the top, just like that. And then if you see here, we lost a part, but that's that little piece right there. That goes in there. And from here, if you want to take this firing pin out, push it forward like that, and there's a little spring inside there. Watch out for that guy. And clean this up, and that's realistically all the further you need. If you want to take this extractor, this will slide down. There's a pin in there, it'll slide out, and that spring will come out. That's pretty much this bolt stripped out. But to get this back together, and that's pretty much, you know, there's no reason, you probably don't even need to take this out, but there's no reason you really have to take it apart further than that unless you got a broken part. To get this back together, we want the spring forward there. We're going to slide that in, push down on the front here and push that in like that. And you can double check it here to make sure we have spring retention and it returns, so that's good. This piece goes back in there. That helps hold the firing pin travel in a certain area. So that's a bolt back together. So we've got to watch out for this little spring when we put it back together. We're going to come back in through the ejection port here. And it's a little tricky. And the extractor has a little notch there it slides into. So that's got to go in there. And then we want to be careful. We're going to hold it up this way. So we want to kind of keep that spring in there, but it's got to kind of slide into that little groove that's in the bottom of this thing. So we're going to kind of walk it in there gently. Hopefully it slides in there. All right, so there it's all the way back, and we're going to test it. So there's some little dovetails that slides into in the front there, so that's all the way back. So we're going to test it to make sure that spring is where we want it. This plunger should move up and down freely, and it does. So there we know that we have our spring back in place. And we can put our roll pin back in. We'll go in from this side. Doesn't really matter, but hold it in place there. And we'll finish it off here with our roll pin punch. Just past flush. So there we go. That is the slide back together. And let's put this guy back together. So gone through and cleaned it. We're going to go through here again and again. This piece here, the long end goes in that hole, sits there. Our lever comes over, hook the spring, hook the pin there. Oh, I got it upside down here. Once this is in there, you hold it in place till you get the thing in there, but this is kind of the trickiest part here. There's that, there's that. Go down, there we go. So there, now we have good spring tension there. It's functioning the way it's supposed to. So now we want to hold on to that so it doesn't fall apart. And our little plunger here goes into this hole right here. So plunger end first, spring sticking out. Then we're going to get our frame here. And we're going to do this upside down. So this is going to go in just like this. Boop. So the trick is make sure that spring gets into that hole down, right down in there. So I'm going to look here so I can see. Make sure I got it in there. Yep, it's in there. And you got to watch out. Your trigger's got to be back, not all the way, but like halfway. And we'll put this back in there. Should be in there, should be in there. And it should go just like that. This has to line up, and it has to go straight down. And it should click right in like that. So there, that's back in. And we get a roll pin. Throw that back in there. get it close there. I got a carpeted thing here, so I'm just gonna set this on there and gently push it the last little bit. So it's a tad bit under flush. There we go. And then, last few pieces here. Put our barrel back on. And pull our trigger back. Expose our screw. Get our 9/32 Allen wrench in there. You might have to wiggle it around a little bit, but this is where the ball end one comes in handy, or I forget what you call them exactly, but the rounded off end. And then we're going to tighten that back up. Perfect. And then our last few pieces here, our guide rod and spring. You want the rod pointing back, so the spring is pointing forward, so it's got room to travel. Here's the tricky part, not too tricky, but this rod has to fit into that little round recess in there. So we get that in there, and it's kind of tricky to let it kind of fall in there. There, it fell in there. So now we should just be able to go back. Like that. Lock our clip back up, and then now we're going to test fire it. Not test fire it, we're going to test it to make sure everything works. So again, empty mag, and these SR22s don't work without the mag, so we're going to, it stays open like it should. It decocks like it should. Doesn't work. Okay. Cocks. Decocks, and fires. So there we go. That is the SR22 tear down and put back together in about 10 minutes. So hope that helped you guys out. If you got something out of it, let me know. Leave a comment below. Maybe there's a better way to do this, quicker, faster. I don't know. That was pretty quick though. If you got any comments, questions, concerns, or you need help with anything, or any gunsmithing stuff, let me know. I take on work all the time. ApexRifles.com, and check out my other videos. Till next time, see you guys later. Thanks for watching.